Welcome to the Movie Book Club. Today we're going to be talking about Alita Battle Angel after this. Welcome to the Movie Book Club. I'm here today with Mr. James McAuliffe.
Yes, my friend.
How are you today, James?
Really well, dude. We're going looking at a really interesting film today. Alita Battle Angel, which was originally Battle Angel Alita.
Yeah.
And just as a tiny, really funny aside for our listeners, we'll say James Cameron, the famous James Cameron, is involved in the production of this movie. But funnily enough, they reckon Roberto Rodriguez, who's the director of this film, who's just a fantastic director, myself and Dave love him for years, and we'll talk to you about his past. He says he called it Alita Battle Angel as opposed to Battle Angel Alita because all of James Cameron's movies begin with an E or a T.
Oh, really?
So Avatar, Titanic, The Abyss.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that Cameron, in keeping with his whole vein of A's and T's, that they changed it around. But then Cameron was joking in the sense that, he was going, okay, Roberto, that's fine. But he said, actually, in reality, it's a bit more, Dave, to do with the sense of Alita Battle Angel, Alita Fallen Angel, Alita Revenge Angel. I'm just making these future movie titles up, listeners, but you can see the way it goes in a sequence when compared to other films.
Yeah, if they're pre-titling them with the expectations of sequels.
Exactly, Dave. So and then I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, listeners, but then we don't really know if there is going to be a sequel or a third one. They said in February there would, but then those other people said they wouldn't. And why we're doubting it is because it took so long for this movie itself.
Yeah, I actually saw the original Battle Angel Alita anime film, Japanese animation, which is sort of not generally discussed in popular culture, but I'm quite...
Are you on about the one, Dave, that was released in Western world?
There was a...
Because I watched that.
Did you? I watched there was what's known as an OVA, an original video animation that I think came out in 1993.
That's it.
I watched it back, I think when the BBC was doing Anime Fridays, and they'd occasionally show a Godzilla film or an anime, and even before that there was a manga, which I haven't read.
It had that kind of animation sense of Once Upon a Time. Do you remember that series, Dave, from when we were younger? Once Upon a Time, The Human Body. Once Upon a Time, Space. It was in a strange way. We'll say, listeners, if you're an Irish listener and you're a bit like myself and Dave, where you just had one station RTE up to the middle of the 80s, and then we got two stations. I mean, anyone that's ever listening to in America, I know your basic cable's 100 stations. But I totally lost my train of thought.
The Once Upon a Time.
Yes, my friend. So we were introduced to manga very, very early in RTE. I mean, that's serious. That's proto manga. The Once Upon a Time, the body, and Once Upon a Time, space. And Once Upon a Time, the body is an epic cartoon.
It is.
I mean, it's literally corpuscles and proteins and our characters in it.
I remember watching it. I also bought I don't know what you call it, but where you trick someone into buying a hardcover magazine every week, and you get a little piece of plastic, and at the end you can assemble a fully working human body.
Forget about it, dude. Yeah, I've been there.
One of the last things I threw out of my parents' house when I moved out. I've been there with
car magazines. I've been there with Quest.
Yeah,
I've been there with Science Soul magazines. That weekly buy. That was a definite part of our childhood. But so we're talking about Alita Battle Angel, which is a movie that is set. It's actually really nice. It's set in 2563, so it's set well in the future.
Yeah. And we know I like my apocalypse films, and it seems like this is post-apocalyptic dystopian future. So
certainly did.
The future happened, we advanced massively in technology, and then that got destroyed, and then they've advanced again, and they've advanced again to the point that is still beyond where we are now.
Still beyond where we are now.
You get the impression it's a step back from where civilization could have been.
Certainly, it's certainly a step back what civilization could have been. And even I love a little simple touch. I like when they do these things in modern movies. We'll say it opens with Paramount and Fox, but then it literally changes to Fox
26th Century Fox.
That's it. Thank you, Dave. 26th Century Fox is exactly it, which is just a lovely opening, And also you get that sense, we'll say, a listener will say, when it opens, like Dave said, it's dystopian future, you get a sense of WALL-E. I really got...
Yes. Actually, that's the first thing I said watching this film is that this looks like WALL-E.
Wasn't it, mate?
It was.
That aerial view of when... who's our main guy, Dave? Dr. Ido. Christopher Waltz, people. What a magnificent actor.
I love Christoph Waltz.
And Christoph Waltz was introduced to this, Dave. Sorry for cutting across you, Dave.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, my first introduction to Christoph Waltz was in Inglourious Bastards. I'm not sure how... That word isn't spelled offensively.
It isn't spelled offensively. You're absolutely right. And I think Bastards is a medieval way of saying it. I think it's an old English way. So Tarantino did that to get around the censors.
Yeah, and as I just did also. But it's a film. I'm not 100% sure what I think of that film. I might be a bit indifferent on it on the whole, but his performance in it I thought was amazing.
Amazing. As in, like, that opening scene is still one of the most intense, really simple, simply framed, just tension building scenes, which is down to the actor, granted, and the script, because Tarantino is a fantastic scriptwriter, because that's primarily what he is as opposed to director. But an unbelievable scene. So we've got Tarantino actually, who did he produce it or co-direct Sin City with Robert
Rodriguez?
Exactly.
They're definitely good friends.
Really
and they
good
collaborate
friends
on things.
Yeah, because they made those kind of B-movie that cost a fortune movies. Remember about stuntmen and stuff like that? And Tarantino actually had a real stunt woman in it as the star of the film, which kind of didn't work.
What was it? The one with Kurt Russell.
The great Kurt Russell.
Death Ride? I can't remember.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Something like along those lines.
But so Tarantino, I think, recommended Waltz to Rodriguez.
And the way we may discuss this off camera, but the way I always go into films is as blind as I possibly can, because I don't want to know anything. I don't want to have my expectations influenced by the trailer or anything. So it's always a conversation I get into with people. It's like, oh, what do you think of that new trailer? And I'm always like, I don't know, I haven't seen it, I won't see it, I won't have an opinion, stop asking me this, please, dear God.
Fair enough, man. That's fair enough. That's
So when I see Wally, I'm like,
purist.
You have my attention. And then Christoph Waltz appears and I'm sitting up in my chair going, hello, Christoph Waltz.
You really have my attention.
You definitely get my attention with Christoph Waltz.
And especially because that there's barely anything on screen. Christopher Waltz is just standing there with a green screen around, talking to a cardboard box with loads of dots in it. It's like basically a mathematician, a physicist, an aerodynamicist, and maybe a director talking to him. There's nothing artistic going on here at all. All the art is going on with Christopher Waltz, and my God, he does a great job of it. So we start our movie like that with an overview of Dave. So we're basically, we are on Earth. Like Dave says,
we are on Earth in the future.
In the future, and we start off in basically a rubbish dump.
Yeah, and they set up very quickly the film. We're sort of talking about, when we're talking about Snowpiercer, the sort of class shorthand. It's like the rich people are at the front of the train and the poor people are at the back of the train, and then as you go up it gets. This is a very clear caste system we've seen in lots of sci-fi and lots of games. The poor people are in the rubbish dump at the bottom, and then floating above the rubbish dump is like a proper city.
Yes, absolutely.
Zolom, I think it's called.
It's called Zolom, Dave.
And we never see.
Sorry, I apologize. Zalem.
Zalem, yes. We never see inside of Zalem during this film.
And again, that Zalem, did it not give you a little tiny smattering of Salem? The whole idea of it being the witch's coven, that is the place that has destroyed everything.
Oh, that is interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
so I was just thinking about it like that because they're playing words,
Yeah. The thing that was at the back of my mind during all this is that I had definitely seen the original, but I didn't think I could remember any of it because I've watched a tremendous amount of animated films over my life. And all this stuff, as I said, I would have seen on BBC's on Friday nights. Like they show Battle Angel Alita, they show Godzilla versus Mothra, they show The Ring. I just watched all of these and they all just went in. But the one thing that was really striking for me was the imagery. Like as soon as they do the zoom out and you see the city and you see it connected to the ground by these huge cables, I'm like, oh, I remember this.
Yes, certainly.
I can't say that about a lot of things that I watched once in 1993.
There's also, Dave, as well, like you said, there is also a great, maybe a debt to owe to modern computer games as well, especially the Fallout series. This was very Fallout 4 as well, the way the buildings are half damaged and everything is dumped and that they live in the dump, like you said, and we do see straight away that actually all the rubbish does come from the sky, like Dave says, listeners, so like the upper classes are just basically almost taking a dump on the lower classes. It's phenomenal, and basically they have to kind of work off of their rejected equipment. So Christopher Waltz is like a cybernetic engineer type of doctor. So he's a guy that we kind of find out later on he was totally upper class, he used to live in Zolom, so now he's down here. When we learn later on why he's down here, but he helps out guys who just basic workers, guys who work in a factory, guys who have jobs to do. They've got one cybernetic arm, they might have a cybernetic leg, they need repairs, they need upgrades, and they come to Christopher, and Christopher does it for free or for food or for pay.
So it actually reminded me a lot.
Real you love kind of characters straight away.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of sorry to cut across you there, To Kill a Mockingbird. the dad in that is a lawyer, but he sort of does services for people who can't afford it. And there is a scene in To Kill a Mockingbird where someone pays him in like fruits or vegetables.
Yeah, you're so right.
And we get that very early on in this film where someone pays Christoph Waltz with a bag of oranges.
Exactly.
He's got that. He's got that small town doctor feel. So it is kind of a.
Yeah, and then as well, Dave, like you just said, the bag of oranges. In a strange way, the only other person with a bag of oranges that I ever remember is Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
Oh,
So I was thinking of Christopher Waltz being the guy who's over his world with the bag of oranges, and then I was thinking as well, like, that's the only bag of oranges I remember is and him biting into them. But that's just by the by.
In our typical fashion, we're almost 15 minutes in, and we have barely gotten to the opening credits of the film.
Yeah,
but
that's fine. That's
we're going to talk about what Christoph Waltz finds in that garbage dump after this. Welcome back to Movie Book Club. My name is David Sheehan. I'm here with Mr. James McAuliffe on Z103 Online, and we're here because a doctor brought us to life after finding us in a junkyard.
Yeah, totally. So we have Dr. Edo is in the junkyard. It looks like a typical thing he does. He visits the junkyard, I don't know, once every day, once a week. But he's basically looking for parts that have been discarded that he can refurbish or that he can reattach to someone else, or just recycle, upcycle, whichever way you want.
I've never heard that term before. It's a good one.
Yeah. So we'll say like Dr. Edo, he's searching for parts, and then the first thing we see him, he finds a skull. Again, just me being referenced out of my mind. It actually kind of reminded me of Hamlet, and that he was the grave digger, and Yorick, I knew him well.
Wow.
And in a strange way, Dr. Ego does know the cybernetic mind really well.
Yeah, I got a different reference because it looked to me like the Terminator skull.
It did. I agree with you.
Which is also a post-apocalyptic film heavily involving cyborgs. But he actually, in just a very practical moment, just pops the eyeball out and just takes the eyeball. So it's like, for him, this is obviously old hat. He's 100% got no qualms about it.
And with your Terminator reference, that's a fair point by you, because it was the right eye in the Terminator that was the red eye, the seeing eye, and that's the one he does take out of that skull.
Oh, well spotted.
Then he's got this, like your classic, like a tricorder, you know what I mean, a scanning equipment, and then he finds this piece.
Yes.
Yeah. So at first you see him, he's not even really sure what it is, and then even from the scan, you see later on in the movie we realise what he's seen, but when you look back at it once, you do see that there's a living brain.
Yes.
So basically it's just the head, the torso, what looks like of a totally damaged cybernetic person.
Yeah, it looks very literally like a kind of a broken doll.
Yes, that's a fair point.
And he takes that home, and
because no one else has seen it before is because it is buried underneath lots of other stuff.
Yeah,
so they give us at least that.
Yeah, that it was deep in the rubbish pile. Yeah, and that probably I don't think you see any other people like dumpster diving like he is.
No.
So it's possible that he's the only one who ever comes here.
Yeah.
So he's like slowly working his way through like the entire trash of the population that lives above.
Again, with that, like our Wally reference, again, just one guy against the mounds of recycling. But yeah, then we see him. He brings her home.
Yeah.
And basically he starts to reconstruct her. And he go on. Yeah.
Oh no, I was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So he brings her home. He starts to reconstruct her. Then we meet his colleague, which is another doctor with him in this time, and she has this amazing cybernetic arm.
Yes,
that seems to be able to build stuff through the power of thought and whatever way she wants it to do it. It seems to have loads of tools.
I didn't spot that.
It looks like a Swiss Army knife of cybernetic tools.
I was just taking that as a visual indicator of this world that we don't know how unusual it is to find a robot in a junkyard. But when we go back to the hospital, we see that his nurse is like a fully robotic arm. So like, so like there's people, the cyborgs. So like this is normal.
Yeah, this is exactly, Dave. Yeah. This is vanilla for this universe.
And he assembles her a body that doesn't look like the other cybernetics of the time. It looks a bit more like what cybernetics look like today, or what prosthetic limbs look like today.
Totally,
sort of a white plasticky quality to what he makes her.
And it certainly, Dave, and even the design on it gave me that sense of kind of like Assassin's Creed type of world. you know, with all that intricate kind of it was like embroidery work on the body. But it is quite a beautiful body. And then she does wake up. But he basically starts to realise how advanced this cybernetic form is. Yeah.
We mentioned at a point that we don't know what the world is powered on. We assume it's like batteries or nuclear power or something contemporary that we have an understanding of. But he makes a reference to the fact that her heart is powered by antimatter.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we know about antimatter is that's what the spaceships in Star Trek run on.
Yes.
That's what you need to go faster than light. So like he does mention that her core could power the entire city they live in for multiple years.
Yes.
So it's not surprising that she had been kept alive in the junkyard for as long as she had. We find out at a certain point that the amount of time she's been in the junkyard. It seems like it was about 300 years.
Yes, yeah, that she is 300 years old.
Yeah.
And to us, and actually in this point in the movie, because the body we didn't. He has her, she's going, so she basically wants to now go outside and see what the world is, and it's our introduction to the world, like Dave says. So we literally walk out onto the street and we start to see other people with cybernetic limbs, total cybernetic robots. Our first introduction was a strange way. That was the defense robots are so RoboCop. What?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Without a
the
shadow of a
Centurion.
doubt. The Centurion, and we get to see vehicles, unmanned ones, manned ones, unibikes. So we get a real sense of what the world is like, and it is very local almost, and higgledy-piggledy, miscellaneous.
I'm trying to think of what the word is for this. Like, it's not steampunk. It's a kind of. Like, it reminds me very much of Cowboy Bebop. The kind of like dirty, grimy. Like you've got robots, but the robots are dirty and dusty.
Yeah.
And everything kind of has a Wild Westy, dusty feel to it.
It does. Well, it has that sense of usually in science fiction films, in a strange way, they all believe the future. Everything's going to be bloody pristine and perfect and designed by Apple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And the future is never like that. The future is more like Silent Green. The future is more science fiction futures that have magnificent future stuff and a tape deck and something in between are much more like the way the future is. Just look in your own bloody kitchen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Look in your own kitchen and you will see like older technology with newer technology. You'll have an iPad, you'll have an old radio, and you'll have a leftover computer. You know what I mean? And that alone is a 30-year span.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I'm saying, this aesthetic looks very much like Cowboy Bebop. Any probably better student of us than sci-fi is probably shouting the name of the genre at the radio right now.
Well, like they say cyberpunk, but I mean, you can just make up.
Yeah. I remember in Cowboy Bebop there was an episode where the focus of the plot was to try and find a Betamax tape player because they came across a Betamax tape and didn't know what was on it.
My God, I used to work with Betamax tapes.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
Yeah, still existed only a few years ago in television, in modern television. You're still using Betamax players and Betamax players, and then when they'd break down to try and get them fixed or find them was a nightmare.
The scene actually where Alita meets the Centurion, it establishes a couple of plot points because she is sort of experiencing food for the first time, which is kind of funny because I don't think we mentioned this, but she has no memory.
You're absolutely
She has no idea who she is, where she's come from, and we see a scene earlier on when she goes to touch a mirror, which will get echoed later in the film. But she's trying different kinds of food. She tries to eat an orange by just biting through the outside of it.
She does, because that's it. And Dave, you're absolutely right. Our first, like I said, he gets paid in food. So first thing we see him, he's fixing a guy's arm who was working in a factory. He pays him with a bag of oranges.
Yeah. So then Christoph Waltz peels the orange for her and gives it back to her, and she eats it, and she thinks it's the most amazing thing ever. It's her favorite food ever by default.
Yes.
Because it's the first thing she's ever remembered eating.
Yeah.
And then he takes her out, and she's trying other foods, and she tries, it looks like a burrito wrap.
Yeah.
And she meets like a little scraggly dog, and she gives the dog some of the burrito.
Absolutely. And within her innocence, she seems to treat the dog the exact same as a human, the exact same as a machine.
Yeah.
All life is the same to her.
And she has no concept of germs either, because I think she continues eating the burrito after she gives it to the dog. But the Centurion's like a big kind of quadrupedal tank. It's like a gun turret on four legs, walking along, and it doesn't stop for anyone. It's just walking through the street and get out of my way.
Exactly.
And it's about to step on this little scraggly dog.
Yeah.
And the first hint we get of Alita's past is she sort of takes like a battle stance.
Hugo is with her though at that stage. Don't we meet Hugo?
Yes, we've met.
Because when they go outside, does she meet Hugo with Dr. Ito?
She meets Hugo with Dr. Ito,
because he owes him parts. So we meet this new character, Hugo, a younger guy that we think is a scavenger as well, kind of like Ito, maybe in kind of hinting that it's a scrapyard, because that's the only place we've seen scavengers so far. And Hugo pulls Alita out of the way of the Centurion, and said she sort of like assumes a battle stance that you know it's no like Baron von Fisticuffs, like she looks like some sort of a ninja from the Matrix, but Hugo pulls her out of the way, and but then she goes to save the dog. The dog then goes barking.
The dog doesn't move. The dog stays barking. She sort of weaves her way in between the legs of the Centurion so it doesn't stamp on the dog, and she runs out the other side.
Exactly.
Hugo's like, well, I've never seen anyone stand up to a Centurion before.
Yes.
And like, she's never seen anything before.
Well, she's never seen anything before.
She has no basis for comparison.
Exactly. It's no heroics. It's no heroics at all to Julia, you know?
And so that sort of establishes that, you know, there's maybe something about her we don't know.
Exactly.
It establishes the character of Hugo, and the sort of running joke of the film of her favorite food is whatever the most recent thing she's eaten is.
Yes. Certainly.
She has a small pool to draw on.
Yes, absolutely. Then perfect. Sorry about that, my friends. We just had a slight technical difficulty there, and we're back again. So so after we establish exactly all that, does she come back into the house then as well, Dave?
The other thing that they establish at this point is motorball, because she sees it on the television.
You're absolutely right. She sees motorball on television, and she doesn't go with Hugo yet, does she?
I don't believe yet.
No, because actually we get back to the next.
What they're doing now is that they're giving us some false red herrings that it is possible that Dr. Ito is a serial killer.
Oh, that happened that night. You're so right, Dave. Yeah. Because we see her waking up late at night like a typical teenager, hearing noise coming in, and Dr. Ito comes in with a large suitcase on wheels, and he seems to have injured his right arm.
Yeah, and there was a very misleading cut early on in the film where you see a girl get murdered by someone with a scythe, and then they cut back to Dr. Ito coming in with blood in his hand, and then we're like, oh, maybe it was him who did it.
Yeah.
So
Music 12.
Okay.
Yes, so you're absolutely right, Dave. We get that cut exactly as she kill him. Then she's now worried. Is Ito something she doesn't know? She's confused. Yeah. So the next day we have her back in town again. She meets Hugo. And then she sees them playing basically street soccer.
Yeah, sort of like rollerblade skate park.
He calls it a skirmish.
Yeah,
and that's an excellent way of putting it, Dave. It's kind of like it's basically motorball skate park.
Yeah,
certainly.
And we'll discuss this in greater detail after this. And we're back on the Movie Book Club. We're talking about Alita Battle Angel, and we were just talking there, James, about the skirmish that she took part in.
Yeah, certainly. So she took part in a skirmish which establishes motorball for us.
Yes.
So it's basically, like you said, Dave, it's a bunch of skateboarder kids with what was the name of those goddamn things they used to be all over Central Park?
Rollerblades.
Yeah, rollerblades. Sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It was like literally, actually, when I moved to New York for the first time in my life in 1994, the rollerblades were everywhere. They were
my God.
massive. I mean, they were massive. They just literally just drove. I never understood them. They were massive.
We have to do an episode that's the backstory of James and all these places he's lived and all these things he's done.
Yeah, don't even worry about it, man. So we get to see, and then of course she has kind of like your classic hard introduction. As Hugo is being nice to her because we get your classic trope of boy meets girl, girl meets, boy meets cyborg meets human that she's never met before, and kind of falls for him. He basically he introduces her to his friends and says, would you like to have a go? And it's basically a guy called Tanji,
yes.
So Tanji's kind of Hugo's best mate.
Right.
Yeah. We get now that they're mates. We don't know yet what they actually really are to each other, and we will know that in the future of the movie. But
they do drop hints throughout. Occasionally, Tanji will go to Hugo, dude, we gotta go. And he's like, I have to go sort some stuff. I'll talk to you later. And you don't see what it is.
Exactly.
They don't do the same sort of tricky cut that they do with Dr. Ito to make us believe he's a serial killer.
Yeah, no, they leave this one sit.
Yeah.
And it's just up to you. And anyway, in the world we're in, no one can be totally straight, totally white, or totally black. This is a grey world you're living in. Everyone has to do a little bit of good and a little bit of bad.
Yeah, a character does make a reference later to the city we're living in basically being an analogy for hell.
Yeah.
And the city above being an analogy for heaven. So, who can be perfectly clean in hell?
Straight up. Another thing too, Dave, that just hit me was when she was doing the skirmish. So we're in the street now. We're in a skateboarding kind of park. We'll say basically a ball is fired out of kind of a unit that's up on a wall.
Yes.
The ball is super heavy. You skate to grab the ball. You have to do laps, and your whole point is that you have to get up in the air high enough to put this ball back into this unit, which looks kind of magnetic, and it's holding the ball. But the ball itself reminded me of the ball from Portal.
Right.
The game Portal, that round thing with the knobs on it that literally couldn't bounce, and you had to fire using kinetic power.
Yeah, it reminded me of the Bumble Ball, just that children's toy that you would just turn on and it would sort of jump around the tables. You bumble around with the Bumble Ball, baby.
You're so right.
Bumble around.
So Alita, do you hear me? Alita gets her introduction to the sport here, and then of course, like we were hinting at, Tanji, he absolutely floors her with a tackle.
It's like a full-on WWE Irish whip.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it really was. It was a rugby tackle. Absolutely clocks her, lays her out.
Yeah.
Granted, too, we're starting to learn in a strange way, the way he hits her so hard, how strong Alita really is.
Yes.
That this is nothing to her, But then, in classic movie style, she gathers herself up.
Yes.
And she learns the game immediately.
Yeah. She is automatically the best. He goes to foul her again to like elbow her in the face, and she like sort of effortlessly deflects him while also kind of putting him in a headlock.
Yeah. And she does the GA thing, Dave. She kind of flicks the ball away from him underneath, and then she she basically just kicks him straight in the ankle and knocks him down.
Yeah, I think he does like an almost full forward flip onto the ground, and she scores the point, and it's kind of that Mighty Ducks, hey, moment.
Yes, very good. Yeah,
everybody's happy.
And then, like Dave referenced earlier, she leaves with Hugo, and Hugo has a motorbike, which is like it has one wheel for that kind of
cool looking gyroscopy thing.
Gyroscopy unicycle motorbike, certainly. But they were talking about, he was saying, are you hungry? Like you were saying earlier, Dave, and oranges are her favourite food. And he was basically saying, oranges?
Oranges, yeah.
Oranges are no good. You can't have this. So he introduced her obviously to chocolate.
Yes.
And even that alone was very well done.
Yeah.
Very Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The way they even had her bite into this oversized, huge
it was
bar of
huge.
chocolate.
It was like the size of a brick.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
And she did a great job of also face acting that she didn't know how to bite into a bar of chocolate, because obviously she doesn't know like the texture.
Yeah. And then, like people at home, that is an actress called Shauna.
Rosa Salazar.
I apologise. Yeah, exactly. So Rosa is basically acting in a suit with loads of dots on her, with cameras hanging off her head.
Yeah, I watched a brief behind the scenes thing, because just for behind the scenes, James and I both coincidentally, without agreeing, watched this film last night. So we don't know what kind of cosmic power is guiding the creative entity of this show.
Sci-fi sync.
Yeah, but she was obviously covered in one of those motion capture suits with all the little ping pong balls, and they used the ping pong balls to basically CG a skeleton of all of her movements. But then she also sort of Rise of the Planet of the Apes style had all these dots on her face.
Yes, absolutely.
And permanently
Andy Serkins kind of style.
And permanently had like a titanium arm coming out of like the side of her head, with another camera specifically capturing like what she's doing with her face frame by frame.
That's for herself.
Yeah.
That actually started in Moon. Do you remember?
Oh yes, with I'm going to forget all the names. Kevin Spacey was in that as a robot before the great fall of Kevin Spacey.
He's the voice of that.
The voice of the robot.
Yeah.
What was the main actor's
name? The most nicest robot ever.
Yes.
The robot that was hinting that it was going to be a new HAL, but it wasn't at all.
Yeah,
It was the emoji robot. It was with Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell
plays himself and himself and himself.
Yes.
Yeah, but in that he does that first. That's actually directed by David Bowie's son.
Yes, Zoe Bowie, who changed his name to something else.
Exactly. Again, listeners at home, another absolutely, again, like myself and Dave, yes, it's more money than usual, but not a lot of money. Small movie, small area, set in one space, one spot. A great sci-fi.
One actor, more or less,
a great sci-fi picture as well. But Sam Rockwell in that movie as well did all of the acting, in the sense of he had a small screen hanging off the front of himself, not as technologically advanced as Rose's, but so that he could look at himself acting to himself.
Oh man, that must be so confusing.
Unbelievably confusing, guys. And she does a fantastic job to have all these kind of balls up in the air at the same time. You know? So Alita, now we have totally established that she probably potentially has Hugo as boyfriend material.
Yes.
She has suspicions about her new father, we'll call him.
Yeah.
And that now we're at nighttime.
Yeah, and it's almost a good anime reference that he's wearing small glasses, a big coat, and a super wide-brimmed hat, which is also how Hellsing dresses.
If you're
familiar with the Hellsing anime, he is a like proto-vampire who is basically an immortal god
You're
monster.
so right. Now we're going to find out what he is. Like Dave just referenced, his clothes give it away immediately.
Yeah, he looks like someone who would kill people at nighttime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alita sees him following a woman, and
he does.
She's basically up on top of a building looking down at the corner, so she can see this woman walking towards the corner.
Yes.
And she can see the doctor produce from his suitcase a very cool weapon.
Yeah, first time, exactly. Yeah,
very cool weapon. Basically,
the weapon we see.
And again, rocket sledgehammer.
Exactly. And we had learned earlier on.
Yes, we did.
From Hugo that all guns, because we'd seen this. Basically, we were introduced to a class of person called a hunter warrior. The hunter warrior, in a way, are the ultimate police. For where we live in this film, who actually go out and actually kill people right there in front of you, and it's fine. And there's bounty. In this world we live in. Basically, bounties still exist. It's kind of a throwback to westerns.
Yeah. And that walk-on cameo at that point was played by Ed Skrein, who is an actor I quite like. I might be pronouncing his surname incorrectly, but we see he had a sword, and we see Dr. Ito's equivalent of that is a rocket-powered sledgehammer.
A rocket-powered sledgehammer.
It is so cool. Yeah. It is so dumb, and it is so cool.
It's so magnificently dumb. It's a Duke Nukem weapon. It's whatever silly game movie you can think of kind of weapon.
Yeah,
and it turns out to be rocket powered.
Yeah, you start to swing it, and then you press the trigger. The trigger activates like a booster.
Yeah, in fairness, I mean, I know if you've watched enough movies, you have a fair idea that that probably Ito is on the side of good, but you're not rightly sure yet.
Yeah.
You're not totally sure.
Yeah.
So Alicia tries to stop him killing this lady in red, which also in a strange way, again, because there has massive references to all cultural, everything cultural throughout it. I mean, she's basically dressed as Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, I was saying that as we were watching
sorry,
it.
miss. Yeah, of course. 100%. When I saw her, I was going, yeah. And it turns out that she's the wolf.
She is the wolf. As it turns out, he wasn't hunting her. It was a trap that she and two others had set to catch him.
Exactly. He thought he was saving her.
Yeah. And as it turns out, he gets into a fight then with a bunch of cyborgs. One has like sights for arms, so then he was the guy at the start who was killing the women because he has sights for arms.
Exactly.
Ito doesn't have a sight; he's got a rocket hammer.
Exactly. Dave.
There's a woman.
She's like a praying mantis.
Yeah. She's got blades for hands as well.
Praying mantis-y, spidery type of creature. The way she fights on.
And there's a great camera trick here where Ito tells Alita to run, and the way they set up the camera shot, it looks like she's running away from the fight. And then she jumps and does a flying kick into the guy's head with the sights for arms. You're like, oh, she wasn't running away.
No.
She was running towards.
Exactly.
And that is consistent with her character. Well, little we've known is that she hasn't run away from anything so far.
No, nothing so far.
But then you realize very quickly by the way she's moving and the way she's fighting, like she is some kind of a ninja.
She is, because Ito gets rid of one of his arms.
Yeah.
With his weapon and is then knocked down.
Yeah.
And then it's up to her. And she is certainly some type of, and she's a weapon. Yeah. She is certainly a weapon, Dave.
She beats the first guy with the sights for arms like to death immediately just by punching him in the head. Yeah. She basically punches his head out. I'm not sure.
Yeah. What we get is a whole thing of, it's almost like flattening a cake.
Yeah.
It's like if you punched a cake and the icing came out at the side and the butter icing kind of squirted. That's kind of the way people die here, because in a way, as we're getting back to Roberto Rodriguez, who's never had a PG-13 movie in his life. Well, actually, I think he's had PG, it could be wrong there. No, I think he's had a PG movie. But the whole point is he kept this down from being 15 or 18 by not having real blood or loads of gore. So the blood you see is this kind of blue blood, which is more like a cybernetic fluid. It's like a cooling fluid in your car.
It's an ancient rule of censorship: is you can't kill people, but you can kill robots.
Yeah,
if someone is a robot, you can dismember them as much as you want. That's fine.
Really good point.
As long as they're not. Going back to like Samurai Jack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this is an old censorship trick. It's also used a lot in games.
It is. You're right.
But then we see her fighting. She kills the first guy effortlessly.
No problem.
And then she's fighting the Scythe woman, and like she can go hand to hand with no weapon against someone using two blades.
And that is the thing, Dave. It's the no weapon.
Yeah.
She seems to have heightened abilities, speed, agility. Yeah, and she doesn't seem to need a weapon at all. She takes her out again with squishy face.
Yeah, she does all sorts of amazing moves, like leaning down and doing like a double punch. That like all these moves that I recognize from fighting games.
Oh, 100%.
And
that was a check-in.
She kicks the praying mantis woman so hard in the head that her head sticks to a wall and her body falls out from underneath.
Exactly. And as this has been going on, this absolutely mammoth character, real giant cyborg, has been holding Ito by the throat up against the wall.
Yeah.
And he basically unveils himself as a guy called Gruishka, who's going to become a main character throughout this whole film.
Yeah.
And we learn lots about Gruishka, actually.
He looks a lot like Jack from the Tekken series. Have you ever seen that really like just big beefy cyborg with like arms that look like pillars?
Yes. And you really believe the size of him and the power of him that she's going to have some problems with this guy.
Yeah, he is like impossibly big looking.
Yeah.
She looks about the size of his hand.
Yes, certainly.
And
she literally wishes, and it's another thing, like you said, Dave, we get the sense of her agility, her speed, the way she positioned herself about her fighting, and when she attacks him, she gives the most precise, it's like a flying ankle kick, and literally cuts his arm off.
Yeah, she hits him in the joint of his shoulder, where like presumably she's figured out where the weakest point is.
And some synchro mesh that works there.
She hits him so hard his arm falls off.
Yeah.
And while she's doing that, we zoom in on her eye and we see a flashback, which we'll discuss after this. Welcome back to the Movie Book Club. We're speaking today about Battle Angel Alita. I'm here with Mr. James McAuliffe. My name's David Sheehan here on Z103 Online. While Alita is fighting with this giant robot, just not to put us on another tangent within a tangent within a tangent, but I looked up and that giant robot guy was played by Casper Van Dien.
Oh yeah, well done.
Which is like the pretty boy from Starship Troopers, who is like playing the ugliest, biggest.
That's a great call. Because again, a Starship Troopers, a massively underrated.
Yes.
Again, a social sci-fi movie.
Yeah, that was like almost like propaganda.
It was amazing.
It was amazing. But
was brilliant.
Casper Van Diem, not to talk so much about actors who are very attractive men, is a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
And the character he plays in this film looks like a roll of Play-Doh Morla that you roll down a dirty hill.
He does, and he seems broken and damaged.
Yeah.
He just seems to have one reason for existing, which is to destroy.
Yeah, and while she's kicking off his arm, she flashes back in her head, and she remembers herself fighting in a war on the moon. In a spacesuit, beating up guys with guns with her bare hands.
And she's not armed, exactly.
Yeah, and someone says to her, 99 on your left.
Yes.
And so that's her first,
it's her first flash, and we kind of get a hint, or I think that the person who says to her 99 on the left is like her. So that there was more of Alita.
Yeah, and the one saying to her is obviously her commanding officer, and so she was definitely in her past life a soldier.
Yeah, certainly.
And was called 99. I was thinking in my head, is that a reference to Maxwell Smart?
I swear to God,
doubt it is.
No, it's not a hope, is it? But I agree with you completely. I thought of 99. Yeah. That was his partner, basically.
Yeah. Agent 99, get me a coffee, please.
My God, yeah. Walking
I need to
through
take this,
all those doors and the stuff on the doors, and his shoe phone.
I need to take this call on my shoe.
That was another Saturday morning program that used to be on Anything Goes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was part of Anything Goes, or maybe Scrap Saturday. Do you remember Scrap?
I remember Scrap Saturday. I don't remember Anything Goes. Yeah.
Well, I'm slightly older than you. So Anything Goes was the original one with Angus McAnally, with listeners at home might remember this. Yeah, with a jumper, which basically had bottle tops from beer bottles put on with a penny behind it to make a clock face on the front of the jumper. Because we thought that was a thing children would love.
That is going to be the first thing I Google after this show, because I want to see this bottle top coin clock jumper.
With Mary, I can't remember, Mary used to do the make and do, and it's like toilet roll inserts, let's go for it.
Yes.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, that was massive flashbacks. Yeah.
Can I go back on a Wikipedia binge about the den after this?
Yes.
So anyway, this is when Ito explains to Alita that he's not a serial killer. He's what's known as a hunter. What is it called? Hunter Warrior.
Yes.
Which is a weird name.
It's a weird name because in a way, it is trying to establish, warrior, those words, trying to establish kind of the grandeur of the world we live in.
Yeah.
That there's lots of black and white. There's lots of references to loads of different cultures. Because actually, we forgot to mention that to our listeners, Dave, before. When the world fell, all of the sky cities collapsed and fell. So literally, Zalem, is the only sky city left.
Yes.
So underneath the sky city Zalem is the population of Earth. So everyone from Africa, Asia, Siberia, Australia, Ireland, England, Luxembourg, I know you throw me in.
Just like the Snowpiercer.
Yeah, exactly. They all live now in the one area. So that's why you've such a dynamic culture in Iron City.
Yeah, and I think someone at a different point in the film references that outside of the sort of lower city area, there isn't any infrastructure. No. So that's the main reason why nobody lives outside. It's not that it's uninhabitable. Yeah. It's just that it's not developed.
And you're right, and we're going to be going there in a moment.
Yeah.
Outside the city.
So they go into we're talking about what was essentially the sheriff's station, where Ito brings the head of the woman who Lita kicked literally off her shoulder.
Exactly, yes.
And drop it in, and there's just a head in a jar.
And I got a feeling, Dave, in a way that this was extra money he wasn't going to make.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. This is like a big bonus.
Because he's obviously not a man who's in it for the money.
No, he isn't, certainly, because he explains that to Alita after, in the sense of this. Yes, he says we killed these people, and he said I will take the money, or he says the clinic doesn't stay open.
Yes, he has
multiple people.
He has to take the things to be able to pay for everybody.
So that in a way then helps Alita's character develop, because now she knows that this man isn't a threat to her, that he really is a father figure, and something to aspire to.
And he also references, I'm not sure is at this point, we didn't mention it earlier, but that the body that he gave her was a body he developed for his daughter, who died. And he also mentions that him and his wife come from Salem.
Yes.
And as far as I know, they're the only characters in the film, in the entirety of the film, that come from above to go down.
Absolutely, because, and we never mentioned this to our listeners before, was that actually after Ito tells her about the body that is his daughter's, when she walks out onto the street, she actually bumps into Dr. Chisholm, which is
Jennifer Connelly.
The great Jennifer Connelly. Who is, again, like Dave said, one of the people from Salem.
And he mentions in the backstory that they had to leave Salem because of their daughter's illness. We don't really know why. We don't know what the social constructs are of Salem, because we don't see it.
We don't, Dave. We see it twice. Barely. The very opening, it flies past down it, and it does seem like Manhattan Central Park expanded to the nth degree. Huge skyscrapers. It is colossal. You know,
it's gigantic.
We get no real sense of how really, really big it is, and just at the very end of the movie, there's a little flyby it as well.
Yeah.
But no, we do stay away from it, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this movie is not meant to be
about that. Yeah. And basically, so their daughter, they had to leave the city because of an illness she had, and they built her the robot suit to try and, because it seems like Ito is like a mechanical scientist engineer, and the wife, played by Jennifer Connelly, is like a biological doctor surgeon. So it's like a perfect power couple if you need to transfer your dying daughter out of her fleshy, failing meat sack body.
And in this world, they split. We get the sense, because the daughter died, Ito went helping poor people, and she went on to basically become the doctor for Motorball. Working with a guy who will be introduced to later on, a guy called Vector, who is the owner of Motorball.
Yeah, they definitely had a split. You see a lot in fiction, and presumably a lot in real life as well, that like some couples can't survive the death of a child. So he went the sort of good Samaritan way, where he's deciding to help everybody.
You do see even a touch in her eye of love for Alita. This Alita is bringing back those memories and feelings from them, because they go on a walk together, and she's basically trying to figure out who Alita is.
But her goal in life is to get back to Salem, because the daughter is why they left, and with the daughter died, she doesn't see any reason why she can't go back. Exactly. So that's her entire character is trying to just get back to what she's lost.
And like Dave said, listeners as well, the dream of dreams is to get to Salem for anyone who's on the ground.
Yes.
Hugo as well takes Alita, and he shows her his favourite place, which is kind of like this old cathedral where they stand on top and get a view of everything, and she's sitting there looking down on Iron City thinking, oh my god, this amazing view, and Hugo goes to her, no, look up, and then you get to see the view of Salem, and he wants to go to Salem as well, and he believes he can get there if he gets enough parts for Ito and for this character we will introduce called Vector.
In a very computer gamey way. I think he says that Vector said to him, if he assembles a million credits, he gets to go above, which is just like
forget about it.
Fill your experience bar and you level up.
That's exactly
super computer gamey.
It truly is. So Alita now knows that Ito is a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, and he's on the side of good. So the next day she wakes up, she meets Hugo again for a day out, and he basically says to her, we're going to take you somewhere special. So we get to leave the city for the first time.
Yes, and this is where they mention that there's no infrastructure outside the city, and they find a downed...
And even Dave, before we get that, we'll say they're driving through all basically farmland, things that look like they're farming power. But when they leave the city itself, isn't that a really interesting image, Dave? The whole of Iron City seems to be surrounded by a wall of water.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dave, is the water being shot upwards in streams, or is it coming down? Is the water hydroelectric power? Is that part of powering the city? Is the water a defense mechanism or some other advanced powering mechanism, in the sense that if you do stand by the sea, just basic physics, negative, like electrons, which are E-, electrons do come off the sea and actually interact with your body. I mean, that's just literally physics, and that's actually why you feel a bit calmer.
That's a great physics drop, Jim.
Yeah, it actually like kind of makes your body positive, like positive, negative. So I was also thinking had that something to do with it, but it was just a lovely image.
We mentioned that this is based on a Japanese manga, which is subsequently based on a Japanese anime, and as I mentioned, we were talking about Snowpiercer. A great hallmark of like Asian cinema and Asian media is that they'll drop things in and just never explain them.
Yes, and I love that.
I love that too, because it opens up discussions for people like us so much. But as they're going past the outside of the city, I'm looking at those walls war. I'm like, oh, what's that? Like, is that to keep people out? Is that to keep people in? Not only is it around the edges of the city where a normal wall would be, it's around the base of the cables holding up the city.
Yes.
So it looked to me like it was to try and keep people out, because
excellent point. I like that.
It doesn't look like, from a layman's perspective, that there's anything stopping people from just climbing up those cables up to the city.
Yes, Jeff.
I do have the OVA in the back of my head, so I know there's reasons why people don't do that.
No, of course, my friend, of course. And also, we get a kind of a slight hint earlier on about those tubes that, like Hugo says to her, no one goes up. The only thing that goes up those tubes is deliveries from Iron City to Salem.
Yeah.
You know. So they get out into the countryside.
They get into the countryside,
and it's totally different.
It is.
We truly are in some gorgeous countryside, Dave.
Yeah.
Walking through beautiful woodlands. It feels like middle America.
It's quite surprising.
Yeah.
You expect in a post-apocalyptic dystopian future that everything is dust.
Yeah.
But as I say, it's not. Everything outside of the city is fine.
Yeah.
There's just no facility to live there.
Exactly. It's that classic post-apocalyptic thing of the one thing that will always survive and regenerate is nature.
Yes.
You can't stop nature.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do, nature will just start to regenerate again in science fiction land.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. And they find a downed ship that they describe as being from Erm.
Exactly, Dave. So now all of a sudden we have this absolutely new world and a whole new species of people.
Yeah.
The United Republic of Mars.
Yes.
So we kind of start to put together, like Dave said earlier to you listeners, that she was on a moon fighting a war. So now we start to realise, okay, maybe she is some kind of elite soldier.
Yeah, from Mars. And if the original battle we saw took place on the moon, you can assume that was part of a battle progressing from Mars towards Earth.
That's what I thought.
We do know we're on Earth.
Certainly.
And they take her to a lake where there is a submerged like a warship cruiser.
Yeah, something like that.
Some sort of spacefaring vehicle.
And they explained to her, some people have boosted stuff off it, some people have taken pieces off it before, but no one, like you said earlier, Dave, no one understands technology. It seems to be more advanced than anything we know, and we don't have seemed to reach that again.
Yeah, it's the classic trope of like a technology from an ancient past that's so advanced that even when we advance into our future, we still don't understand it.
And in a way then, so we see Alita has a different reaction to the ship than the rest of them.
Yeah.
It's almost like she pricks up her ears. It's almost like Spidey senses kicked in.
Yeah.
You know?
Because in their lore, it's like the devil. It was a great evil they fought in the past. So they're kind of afraid of it.
Exactly.
But she's not.
Exactly. And even they kind of have a little quote with Tenji when they go into her, why don't you like her? You know what I mean? He's kind of like, with hard bodies, I never knew the deal of it. And his kind of friend or girlfriend says to him, it's 300 years ago. You got to get over it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like cultural racism and cultural problems.
It happened so long ago, dude. You got to get over it. So then Alita basically says to them, kind of out of nowhere, again, does the other little hints again on who she really is. She basically says, we need to go to the command deck. And they're all looking at each other going, we need to go where now? How do you know about command decks? What's going on here? And she basically just drops into the lake.
It's a great little moment that you kind of forget that they mentioned early on that she's heavier than she looks, but she's so heavy that she can't float, so she just walks along the bottom of the lake.
And like they said to her, I wonder how long she can hold her breath. And again, it's that thing we start to realise how resilient she really is.
I turned to my better half during that film and I said, does she breathe? And she's like, I don't know, they said she's a heart. And I'm like, is that a heart, literal heart, or is that an air quotes heart that's powering her? We're not really sure how she works.
She does breathe out though.
She does at the very end. She does exhale, and she was like, she does breathe. And I was like, you're right.
Straight up, yeah.
And we'll have to discuss what she finds in the command deck on another day, because we are out of time. So we were discussing Zoe Bowie earlier, who directed Moon. We're going to sign you out here with a song by his dad, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust.